British Columbia has a rich history spanning many centuries. This is a narrative on industry. This is a mosaic of different historical perspectives. This is a celebration of communities. Welcome to the year of the Canniversary, a momentous occasion to recognize the heritage of the Gulf of Georgia Cannery, and by extension, understand how different industries have shaped our province as we know it today. The city of Kamloops was incorporated in 1893. Property development across the river was a later addition to the developing city, as the city in its infancy only consisted of buildings on the south shore. However, an increase in property development was a threat to the land that rightfully belonged to the Shuswap First Nations community, as the area along the rivers and lakes was inhabited by them prior to the European settlement. The crisscrossing of paths between the old and new Kamloops is seen at the intersection of First Avenue and Victoria Street, a junction placed at a weird angle because of the different superimposed geographies of the same city, but different times. Opportunities to grow through farming attracted settlers to suburban Richmond, among them being the brothers Charles and William London. The brothers purchased the land that became London Heritage Farm in 1881. With the farmhouse facing the Fraser River, the family was able to exploit new farming techniques. The London family home allows modern Richmondites a glimpse at the lifestyle of an iconic family during a surge of growth in the population. Mackenzie House is a heritage house and museum in Coquitlam, first built in 1909 adjacent to Fraser Mills, a major mill beside the Fraser River. The Fraser Mills Company had the house created by French-Canadian architects for various executives to reside in. Mackenzie House is the only major heritage landmark in Coquitlam that has been restored and is functioning as a museum. It also shows that the milling industry was the main source of income for Coquitlam residents 800 years ago, and preserves the architecture and furniture of the time for a middle to upper class family. Finally, it shows us how prevalent Francophone culture was in the area back in 1910, whereas now, the community is much smaller. Made in 1977 by Canadian clockmaker Raymond Saunders, the Gastown steam clock is an iconic tourist attraction in the heart of Vancouver. The clock, costing a whopping $58,000 to be built, was made with the purpose of diverting funds allocated by Mayor Tom Campbell to run a freeway through Gastown, Chinatown, and Strathcona, a project which did not please Vancouverites. Hence, the use of those funds to build the clock and refurbish the neighborhood's historical buildings allowed for the preservation of the historic town. Today, the clock is a source of pride for Gastown, Vancouver, being one of the only operating steam clocks in the entire world. Gulf of Georgia Cannery is a National Historic Site located in Steveston. This year marks the 125th anniversary of the building of the historic cannery in 1894. In other words, it is the year of the Canniversary. By now, we've seen how various different industries have contributed to the greater story of BC. Now we've finally arrived at this cannery. The so-called Monster Cannery, established in 1894, was the largest salmon canning plant in BC until 1902. Fish boats would come to the dock and unload their fish, which then traveled through an entire systematic process until the final product was procured. In 1930, the plant ceased operations as a salmon cannery, but continued as a fresh fish depot and net loft. During the years 1940 to 1947, the cannery started providing herring, a more affordable source of protein, to overseas allies during World War II. The cannery's processing and production capacity increased over time with the addition of newer machines, and more products meant greater profit. And 125 years later, here we are in a National Historic Site and Museum, which officially opened to the public in 1994. Today, visitors can take a tour that will transport them back to an era where the Monster Cannery was operating in full swing. This National Historic Site represents the history of the salmon canning industry, as well as the history of Canada's West Coast fishing industry. Industries in British Columbia are at the heart of what allowed our province to thrive and develop. As we continue moving forward together as a society, understanding the stories of where our communities came from can make us realize that we are all very interconnected. This entwined nature of the British Columbian story is what makes the year of the Canniversary such a momentous occasion for all to celebrate. This is a story of industry, about the unification of people. These are stories of vision, passion, and perseverance. Cheers! Happy Canniversary!